All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. I am hoping that this broadcast will not be an all nighter. No, it won't be an all nighter. And actually, I'm hoping it won't be that long at all, to be honest. But as you can see on the radar, we do have some showers and thunderstorms. The storm that was severe warned from McKinney northeast has, as you can see, that warning box has been dropped. It actually expired at 7 p.m. So there were some at least radar indicator reports of half dollar size hail, maybe even some golf ball size hail. I haven't seen any ground truth on that yet, although I'm sure we'll get some here in a little bit. So let me kind of keep everybody up to date on what's going on here. So as I've talked about for a couple of days now, we've had this storm system out in West Texas, hanging out there for a couple of days, and then the dry line, as you can see on the radar, as I will point out while I'm thinking about it. So dry line is this line right here. So if you are over here anywhere, yes, I'm talking to you, Angela. You're done for at least today. We'll talk about tomorrow a little bit later. So if you're on that side of the line, then you are good. If you're on this side of the line, you're not out of the woods yet. Now, having said that, the semi good news, and we'll expand out a little bit here. Let's get rid of this. So this storm, and we'll put this in motion. This storm that kind of popped up northeast of McKinney, as you can see there, definitely was a supercell. It still is, but as you can see, it's kind of consolidating into a line. Now, we can still have really rough weather with lines of storms, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that we would get the really bad stuff, and that's kind of what we're hoping. So it's something that we definitely want to watch. And checking the chat. Hello, Brittany. Hello, Kaylee. So Brittany's got her popcorn. Well, hopefully you won't need that. I got to show this, Kaylee. So there's Kaylee right there. I'm not Brittany. I'm sorry. Replying to Kaylee, her sister. Anyway, so yes. Well, hopefully you won't need any popcorn from that standpoint. But anyway, so if you have a question, just put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer that as we go along. But again, you can see the radar in motion, and like I said, right now there's nothing severe. Now that's not to say that that can't change, obviously, and but nothing that would meet severe criteria, i.e., inch and a quarter, an inch in diameter or larger hail. So yes, I'm going to show you Kaylee. Okay, I got to put Kaylee on there because her sister Brittany was on there. All right, so anyway, so you kind of see this line is starting to move to the east southeast, and so which is good news really for most of the at least the western half of the metroplex. The eastern half of the metroplex is still going to have some anxious moments between now and probably the next hour or so. All right, so let's kind of give a little bit wider view here. So as you can tell, really, there's not a whole lot else going on in the area. We do see these showers starting to form along. I say showers, thunderstorms form along the dry line. And the thing we've been watching for, and we're kind of starting to see this, is what we call a zipper effect. So you see this line and these storms, especially the storm that's up near McKinney, starting to want to zipper down a little bit along that line. And I would think that would definitely want to continue. Now, like I said, what's interesting about tonight is that the dry line is moving southeast on the northern half of it, if you will, if you make the metroplex the center, and you can see it's backing up southwest of Fort Worth. So that's why I think in the big scheme of things, it's not going to uh, really move far away. Um, you know, Unfortunately, and like I said, there's a whole nother discussion about tomorrow. Hello, Lauren. Laura, sorry, Laura. Let's see. You know what? I got a new toy, so I'm going to try this. That way, I can read this. Let's see if I can put this on screen. Yeah. So, Laura, hello, Laura. Your son's at church playing tennis, and why should I be concerned between now and 8:30? I would be a little concerned, and I'll tell you why. And we'll actually stop this in kind of you can see Wiley's about where that said about right here, I guess. So not anything obviously in the immediate to be immediately concerned. But again, if we see this line, and I'll get my marker here, you know, we're expecting some development, like I said, the zipper effect to see storms maybe start to form down this way. Now, if that's the case, they'd be moving, right toward uh, Wiley, Garland, Northeast, Saxe, Murphy area. So um, hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility. So if you're outdoors, definitely want to be cognizant of that because as I don't know, as I say old saying, but it's probably not that old. You know, when thunder roars, go indoors. And so basically, that just means if you can hear thunder, that means you can be struck by lightning. So definitely want to take that precaution if you're outside. All right, so like I said, there's no severe warnings in effect currently, and looking good so far. I just thought that I'd come on. Sometimes I'll just come on when the weather's getting kind of nasty, but I thought since the atmosphere is so volatile, I thought I'd come on and just kind of give everybody kind of a rundown of what's going on. So again, if you're in really from McKinney eastern part of Collin County, really the northeast half, and it looks like they're going to warn that storm again. And you can kind of see in this area right here, this purple, there's probably some hail there. That's true. I bet that's why they're going to warn it. If we look at the hydrometer coefficient there. Oh, actually, I don't want that one. I want the other. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, that doesn't. Okay, that doesn't want to populate. All right, so we'll just go back to reflectivity. Oh, it must be. I lost everything. It must be updating. All right, so we will. Yeah, so they're going to issued the severe thunderstorm warning for the northeast part of Collin County and Hunt County, and that's for half dollar size hail, which is inch and a quarter and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Okay, well then the boxes show up, so that's good. Why is my data not showing up? That is interesting. That is no good because if that's the case, I'm going to have to switch radars. Let's try this. No, that's kind of a bad time for that to happen. All right, so I'm going to close this and try again here real quick. So give me a second. You're welcome, Laura. I appreciate you. Hello, Kara. Yeah, Kara. I hope it doesn't happen anywhere. Wiley, Saxe, anything like that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, just had to reload the radar. Okay, so So, like I said, we are starting to see this zipper effect, if you will. And again, you can see right here, starting to see some development now. The atmosphere is, like I mentioned this morning, the atmosphere is very unstable, and so unfortunately, when these storms pop up, the cap is pretty much gone. It's sort of there, but it's easily breakable. I was talking to someone else earlier today that I think the temperature for the cap to break was 90. Depending on what chart you looked at, but 92, 93, 94. And the airport got up to 95 DFW. So that kind of tells you what the temperature did to the cap. And so that's not really going to help us much as far as tonight goes. Now, I will say, though, when you get closer to sunset, interesting things happen and sometimes they compete with each other. So the thing that's not good for us when the sun goes down is the low level jet, if that's what we call it. Everybody thinks about the jet stream in the upper levels, which is definitely one we always focus on. But there's what we call a low level jet that's closer to the surface. And so what happens is, and I'll put my drawing tools. You get this low level jet that comes up like this that after sunset will strengthen. And so that's at the low levels. And of course, at the upper levels, you have this type flow. And then, of course, what you don't want, which we don't have a big chance of tornadoes, but you don't want this over here. So that's why we have to be concerned about tornadoes in these kind of situations at night. Now, the thing that competes against that is the cap tends to strengthen when the sun goes down just because the atmosphere cools. It was 95 before, and now it's, what is it at my house? It's 85. So it's still warm and humid out there. So that tends to want to suppress things, but the problem is in these type situations, even though the cap wants to strengthen, once storms really get going, it kind of the cap doesn't really matter because the storms are going so much that just the cap doesn't really come back. Hey Kevin, let's see. Let me get Kevin up here. In McKinney for volleyball until 8:30. Is this not? I'm assuming you say not a good place to be right now. Well, it depends on where in McKinney she is. So actually, we'll zoom in on McKinney real quick for Kevin. Most of McKinney is okay. That storm is moving, and we'll put this in motion. That storm is moving to the east. Let's see. Of course, that was a new development. Yeah, east southeast. So yeah, I mean, it depends on where she's at, Kevin. But if she's volleyball outside, be careful. If she's inside, she should be fine. Now, again, we'll talk about how we're not really out of the woods yet, but in the big scheme of things. But again, right now, if you're on the other side of that line, then you are good for now. All right. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, and I'll show this graphically in a second. We do have a tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock for most of us. Like the main threat is gusty winds, 70 miles an hour, hail size softball. I don't think we're going to see a lot of reports of softballs, to be honest. They always want they're going to give you the worst case scenario. Hopefully that's the worst case scenario. You're welcome, Kevin. All right. So speaking of that, let's look at some graphics here. All right, so this is visually the tornado watch, and as you can see, it's mainly Dallas Fort Worth and east and south. So if you're west of Tarrant County, west of Denton, you're good. And I would guess that as probably within the next hour or two, some of the counties on the west side of this watch box, Sherman, Denton, Fort Worth, I would imagine. Of course, I think if you're in Fort Worth now, based on the position of the dry line, you're probably fine anyway. But you'll probably start to see them drop that a little bit. But they don't like to drop it too early, especially when you got that southern part of the dry line moving south or moving back to the west. But so we will. Let's see here. I think I can. Oh, here we go. All right, so here's kind of the bigger overall picture for this afternoon, or really tonight. So this graphic's a little old, especially on top, but it's a good summary that the Weather Service puts out. So scattered storms, it's not going to be, everywhere, of course, as we've already seen. The highest threat, of course, I mentioned this morning, east of 35, north of 20, 35E. So that's kind of what we thought. And then if you look at that afternoon graphic, even though it's old from 4 to 6, it kind of is pretty accurate so far. Now we had some storms down near Waco. The cap killed them down there. Of course, you see the red northeast of Dallas Fort Worth, which is what we're seeing right now. And then, of course, you go down to the evening 6 to 10. Again, I think that's pretty good graphical representation. And then after 10 o'clock, most of the stuff will be east or south of us. But the thing I would note bring to your attention is this station of the position of this shows as a stationary front here, and that where that sets up overnight into tomorrow is where we're going to see chances tomorrow. And just real quickly, let's show you that. Well, actually, this is the tornado outlook for today. Like as you can see, the hatched area, which is the greatest probability, is way up northeast of us. Not saying we wouldn't see a tornado, but we could. Yeah, Kara, I see that line, and we get to that in just a second. This is a severe hail outlook, which again, unfortunately that's probably right on. Then there's the wind gust. Again, most of that's gonna be northeast of us, although we could see it. Now this is tomorrow. I'm gonna get back to the radar because we got some things popping, but this is tomorrow, so we're not out of the woods by any means. And then the weekend is the first part of the weekend looking pretty good, but unfortunately, we got to get back to the radar. All right, so yeah, all right, so this storm right here, all by itself, we do not like that. So, as a matter of fact, Kara actually pointed that out. Um, yeah, it looks to be over Carrollton. Yeah, and actually, yeah, the one over Irving's probably. I don't know if you saw that one. So yeah, so this is we got to watch this one because it's by itself, and those are ones that tend to misbehave. So let's go ahead and put that in motion and see kind of what we got going. Yeah, as you can tell, just the last couple radar frames, it has didn't take long to get big. So initially, it's moving looks like more due east than northeast, which is good and bad. So a lot of times what happens is, when you have this general motion of northeast, I mean, they tend to do their own thing. I mean, they can definitely do severe weather, but when they're the mean flow is northeast, but then they turn east, we call it a deviant mover. And that's when you could get some potential for tornado. I'm not saying this would be a tornadic storm by any means, but what I'm saying is that when you make that right turn into the flow to the south and southeast, we call that backing of the winds. That's typically where you get tornado genesis. So not this storm isn't any severe warned, but I'm just saying it's just one we got to keep an eye on. That's for sure. You're welcome, Brenda. I appreciate you. All right, so let's kind of look at a bigger picture here and watching the comments. So if you got a comment, let me know. All right, so I'm just going to look over here at this. Let me see if we got any storm spotter reports yet. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, so that storm is kind of early, so there's no real reports on that, which is which is good. You know what? Let's see. Let's take a different radar vantage point here. So this is actually the terminal Doppler radar at Dallas Love Field, and let's see. And again, the structure looks about the same as it does from the traditional Doppler radar down in Fort Worth. I'll put that back on there. Okay, so again, I would point out that you're seeing this line fill in a little bit. Now, it's not, unfortunately, that's why I wanted to come on. Unfortunately, it's not going to take a whole lot to get these storms going because of the instability in the atmosphere. So I will say, looks like on this, let's zoom in on this storm a little bit. So nothing crazy yet, but it's definitely got a potential, and that's what we got to watch. I wouldn't be shocked because the radar scans are only every couple minutes. Sometimes they're up to 5 minutes. It depends on how storms are behaving, how often it updates the radar technician at the Weather Service. But it's so this is not technically real time. Pretty close, but it's not real time, not live. So I wouldn't be surprised, again, just based on the characteristics of the atmosphere. I wouldn't be surprised if you started seeing some hail reports. Not that huge, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised. Let's put this in motion here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, okay. So that one's that cell is starting to line out a little bit, which doesn't, like I said, doesn't mean it's not going to produce something severe weather-wise. But again, we just want to keep these cells, the supercells, these deviant supercells, if you will, or renegade supercells. We just don't want to keep them by themselves. So that's what we got to watch out for. All right, so we'll stop that. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit. So really, right now, if you're just joining us, right now the only severe thunderstorm warning is up here in east of McKinney, Princeton. So if you know anybody up Princeton way, and you know anybody in Greenville, definitely give them a heads up that they could see some weather in the next 30 minutes to an hour, probably. All right, so let's see what else we got over here. Uh, okay, don't see any storm reports. Check something else over here. Yeah, so the storm that's east of McKinney in this area is starting to see. Well, let me get my line here. You can kind of see a little bit of hail contours in the storm there, but again, that's northeast of McKinney. And I think too, while we're kind of waiting for the next radar scan, it is these storms can, even though the atmosphere is very unstable, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the worst storm ever. It's just something that the potential there, with the way the atmosphere is primed, it just has the potential to produce significant weather. So that's why I'm on currently, even though we don't have any warnings in place. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to last. It just depends on, you know, where these storms go and how this dry line behaves. Because unfortunately, it's not, if we put this in motion, the dry line is not. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, you just kind of wish it would just, move on out pretty quick. But I don't know that that's going to necessarily be the case, as you saw from the earlier graphic about the chances tomorrow. 'Cause I think that boundary is going to be somewhere in Dallas Fort Worth tomorrow. And matter of fact, while we're kind of waiting on this to do its thing, let's stop this. So if we go back to the outlook for tomorrow, which is this, so we'll talk about this for just a second. So actually, if you looked at this morning, that red was all south of Dallas Fort Worth. However, as you can tell, it's expanded well north, really above the north of the Red River. But this is, of course, this is the same thing we always talk about. If the storms everybody in the red will not see the worst of the worst. It's just this is a general area they think that something could happen, and so that's number one. Number two, if they do happen, what's the threat level? Well, the biggest threat level is hail, and then damaging wind gusts. Tornado is somewhat lower, relatively speaking, and then if we have had a lot of rain, so the soils are saturated, so we could see some flooding if you're underneath one of these storms. All right, so we will go back to let's go back to the graph. Okay, so again, if you're just joining us and it's been scrolling at the bottom, we have a tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock. I would expect that some of the counties to the on the western side of the watch would be dropped. But again, we're a little too early for that. All right, so let's go back to the radar and just checking the chat. Don't see any new questions. So if you do have a question, I will play with my toy again. so, so if you have a question, just send your question in the chat. So it's kind of cool. A little reminder there. Okay, so the good news is the storm that popped up initially southwest of Irving has behaved so far, so that is good. Um, so it is something we hope that continues. As far as we don't want anything to get out of control. Now, here's something interesting I just saw, and I'm going to zoom in on this. So about an hour and a half ago at Dallas Fort Worth International Airport, the dew point, get ready for this, the dew point was 78 degrees. Now, dew point is a measure of moisture in the atmosphere. So the higher the dew point, the more humid it feels and the worse you feel when you walk outside. 78. So the dry line went through, and we'll zoom in on this. And so it's probably a little hard to read, maybe. Now, still 94, but the dew point is 57. So it has dropped more than 20 degrees in about an hour and a half. So that obviously tells you where the dry line is. And so dew points like that, you're not getting storms. So just an interesting little observation there. All right. So now to compare that, if I look at my weather station, it's 77. Now my dew point runs a little high because of all the grass in the yard and all that, but still, it's probably in the 73, 74 range. I would imagine. So that's the kind of dry air we're talking about. But wouldn't that feel good at that? If you're sitting outside and that dry line moves through your area, it goes from really, really humid to really, really nice, especially with no storms. All right. So let's zoom back out. All right. So I'm happy to say I wasn't really expecting. Well, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I didn't know if it's just going to blow up. That's why I kind of went on a little early. But luckily, um, you know, I'm always going to show thank yous, Kara. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all watching. So it's thank you, Kara. Oh, she has we got brand new breaking comment from Kara. Yeah, put through here. Where are dew points maybe when our dew points drop. I was just talking about that. I don't know if you caught that, Kara, but I'll repeat it real quick. So just a couple hours ago, the dew point at DFW was 78. Now it's 57. So if you're lucky enough to see the dew point drop, sorry, the dry line move through, then uh, that would probably happen in the next hour and a half, for the ECR. But the kind of the catch to all that is we don't know when it's going to stall. So so if it stalls west of you, you will never enjoy, at least temporarily, you will never enjoy the dry air until the true cold front comes through Thursday night, Friday morning. Which will make it for a very nice Mother's Day weekend, at least the first half of it anyway. We'll talk more about that in a second. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate you. Yeah, I just felt like it was good to be on and kind of give everybody at least an idea of what to expect. And that's the thing about the weather is because we do not know. We have a decent idea of what it's going to do, but as you saw, only us weather geeks would know this. But we had a very high risk 2 days ago in Oklahoma, and a horrible tornado near Bartlesville and Barnesdale. I'm probably getting that wrong. Um, and it was devastating for them. There wasn't as many tornadoes as they thought, but for those guys, it doesn't matter. It only takes one. So, but they really thought that there would be widespread tornadoes like that, but there were really only one, maybe two. So yeah, that this makes the weather incredibly difficult to predict, especially when it comes to severe weather. I've talked about this many, many times when it comes to severe weather forecasting. It's a lot like winter weather forecasting. You in North Texas, you have to have all the ingredients, number one. And I will say tonight, we do. We have all the ingredients. And that's I don't like it when we have all the ingredients because that means it could happen. When we're missing one, I'm totally cool with that. Um, but we have all the ingredients tonight. But it's like making a cake. I always like to say that you can have all the ingredients to bake a cake, and but if you don't mix it right, if you don't mix it right, and you don't have the right portions of ingredients, and you don't bake it at the right temperature, it's not going to be a good cake. And so it's severe weather is just like that. You need instability, you need wind shear, you need a lot of times I say hot temperatures, but certainly warm temperatures. You need moisture, you need helicity. It's you need rotation in the atmosphere. You need wind shear. You need speed shear. You need all that. And for all that to come together at the same time, I mean, it happens all the time. Unfortunately, we've seen some devastating tornadoes the last couple of days. One in Michigan yesterday, and I think we've had some in Tennessee today. It definitely happens, but you just it's got to all come together at the same time and at the right time. So thankfully, right now we're not getting that. All right, so some of you may notice that the Weather Service is going to issue a tornado warning, not for Dallas Fort Worth, but for this storm right here. So that will probably be forthcoming momentarily. So we're starting to see some rotation with this storm. So hopefully this won't screw it up again. Okay, good. Yeah, so I can see why they're a little concerned. So if you know anybody, even it doesn't show up yet, but it's about to. If you know anybody in this east of Princeton, I would say if you know anybody in Greenville, definitely let them know that they got weather coming their way. And as I mentioned before, this is something that we kind of feared that these storms, although the tornado threat is not great as far as hopefully not strong tornadoes, but and not a lot of tornadoes, but it is definitely something that's possible, and we're about to see a warning come out for that. And that looks like what's they going to issue it for? Yeah, Fannin County and Lamar County looks like. Um, Although they may include Collin, I'm not sure. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. All right. So just as a reference, green is toward the radar, red is away from the radar. So here's another example. Toward the radar, away from the radar. Kind of see this. So very broad rotation, but enough to where the Weather Service is going to issue a tornado warning. Let's see if I got the wording on this yet. Haven't seen the box. Let's see. Tornado warning. Northwestern. Okay, it's just for Lamar County. Okay, northwestern Lamar County. Oh, okay. Actually, it's not even that storm. My bad. Let me zoom out. Yeah, I apologize. I had the wrong storm. Um, so please, if you know anybody in Greenville, but still, they still need to watch that storm. But this tornado warning is for the storm northwest of Paris. So my apologies. But I would say the same thing. If you know somebody in Paris, let them know that that storm is coming their way. All right. All right, so let's see. And they do have spotters on the ground there. They're seeing rotation in that area, so they're definitely concerned about it. Okay, so thankfully not the storm in nearest Dallas Fort Worth. All right, so let's go back to reflectivity here. Get back on here. Yeah, so the good news is the storm in almost central Dallas County is still behaving. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some hail in there. Nothing, obviously, nothing severe level. Um, but right now it looks like. Matter of fact, let's go to the hydrometer classification layer. Let's see what they show. Yeah, it's a little bit of red. Now remember, red is smaller type hail, so that's the good news. Nothing terribly crazy to worry about. So that's good. And I don't expect any rotation, obviously, but just for grins, yeah, there's no rotation at all, so that's good. I'd still kind of watch this one up here just a little bit. If you're like if you know anybody that lives up that way, just just make them aware of the weather. All right, so let's expand this out. So this goes back to about 5 o'clock ish. And so you can see the dry line starting to make some progress to the east southeast. Uh, let's see. Let's go down south here a little bit. Yeah, so I was watching that dry line movement down southwest of Fort Worth. Get that mouse over here. All right, so let's do this. All right, so again, you kind of see the dry line right here. And this part of the line, and I'll put it in motion, has been going this way. This part of the line has been going this way. So if well, I can't put it in motion with that on there, but so if you kind of remember that, then we'll put this in motion because you can kind of see it's down here, it's moving this way, and then this line is moving this way. Now I'm sure part of that up here is because these storms, some of the outflow from these storms are pushing it that way. So I think that's why you see a lot of that. But again, going back to, I think that's why in that one graphic, he kind of saw that they think it may the line dry line may end up something like that, or it could be pushed down here, especially if we get more storms. So I think that's why they're thinking that tomorrow will be um, could be have another chance for severe weather. All right, so just issued another severe thunderstorm warning for the southeastern part of Collin County. Zoom in on that. Let's see what we got. Yes, ping pong ball. Say that fast. Size hill, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. Let's see. All right. Yeah, it doesn't look that impressive on radar, but that doesn't always mean anything. Um, oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Okay. That part's not really what they're really warning for this part of the storm that may go like this. So it's not so much this right now, but although we definitely got to watch that. So that's what it is. So again, as the great James Spann says, respect the polygons. So if you are, um, if you're basically, I wouldn't even, I don't know if I'd worry if I was in Wiley proper, but especially north and east of Wiley, anywhere along Highway 78 up to 380, and then of course north of that even to the Hunt County line. Definitely, well, actually all the way to Greenville, I would say. Just keep an eye on that. Nothing crazy, but it's enough to be warned. for ping pong ball size hail, which is inch and a half in diameter. Um, or actually, I take that back. It might be inch and a quarter. Let me see. Oh, wait, forget. Oh, inch and a half. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Oh yeah, half dollars, inches a quarter. It's hard to keep up with all that. Okay. There's another scan there. I'm trying to think. Do we need to look at anything else? Let's see. Don't see any other comments, so that is good. And I will update this morning real quick for the bottom. All right, let's do this. There we go. So I just thought I'd update that. So that's the latest warning that was just issued. The main thing we would look at is southeastern Collin County until 8:30. As I said, the severe thunderstorm was located near Wiley, and I think that's a little generous, but it's probably just the biggest city they had to reference. Um, but moving northeast. So if you're in Wiley, I don't think you have anything to worry about. But it's just something that if you live in Wiley, you'll probably, or if you live anywhere in Collin County or close to Collin County, you'll get that warning on your phone. It's like I said, but it's luckily it's right now. Don't want to get too complacent. Right now, it's nothing to be terribly concerned about. All right, so let's do a couple of zoom in here real quick. All right, so let's take a closer look at this storm. And thankfully, it's not doing a whole lot. All right, so just checking that over there. All right, so let's look at a couple of different layers on this one, just for grins. So we'll do velocity, and that's not surprising at all. It's not rotating at all, so that's good. And also, by the way, that also helps the hail production to stay down because you need a rotating updraft for hail most of the time, at least the big stuff. Actually, a little bit higher resolution, but again, nothing there. If we look at the hydrometer, which will tell us if there's any solid water falling. And if you remember before, you did have a little bit of probably pea-sized hail falling out of that storm, and you don't see that anymore. So that's definitely good. So nothing to worry about there. All right, so let's move up to this storm up here. Little different story as far as hail production goes. Like I said, so that on that storm up near Celeste, or at Celeste, really, or in Celeste, Farmersville. Again, if you know anybody that lives in Greenville, just make sure that they're aware of the potential for hail in that storm. All right, so let's go to uh, velocity. So here's a couple of concerning things. Nothing to be terribly concerned about, but something that definitely want to point out. So again, green is going toward the radar, and red is going away from the radar. And so, like I said, this is really, really broad. And then same thing here, away from the radar, toward the radar. So it's nothing to be concerned about, but you do see some very broad rotation in that storm. So again, nothing to be terribly concerned about. But if again, if you know somebody that lives up that way, I would just have them make sure they're aware of what could come your way. Now we're seeing hail signatures for sure with this purple. All right, so let me look at my house here. All right, so nothing has passed through my house because the dew point is still 77 on my weather station. So, so that is for sure. Okay, so with that, I don't see any more questions in the chat. So if you have one real fast, I think I'm going to sign off. I say for now with a caveat is that I won't come back on if there's no reason to come back on. I mean, that's good news. Now, if I feel like I have a reason to come back on, then it's not 100% bad news, but it's that means, but more than likely, it's something has popped up that we need to talk about. But so far, that is not the case. Just look at storm reports. Yeah, quarter inch hail south of Celeste, downtown Celeste. Okay, well, that's not. I mean, it's not bad. A quarter inch. That's better than what the radar was showing. Of course, that's looking 3,000 to 4,000 feet in the air. So the hail can definitely be bigger up inside the storm before it falls down. That's one good thing about being warm is hail tends to melt before it gets to the. I mean, it decreases the size some. Um, all right, so let's pull back out here. All right, let's put this in motion. So you can tell that the kind of the main show in town is that supercell right there. So, like I said, seeing broad rotation in it. Looks like uh, we just got a report from a spotter up in that area. Collin County, okay, 380 US Highway 380 at the Collin Hunt County line. Storm spotter anyway was reporting a rotating wall cloud. So, uh, not terribly surprised to see that. Um, let's zoom back in on that. And again, like I said, if you know someone that is in that area, definitely give them a heads up. Let's put the velocity on here. Okay, they had the report at 380 in the county line, which is right here. Let's put this in motion. Don't see anything terribly concerning at the moment. Let's see if the last couple radar frames show anything different. Yeah, it goes kind of fast, but I could sort of see that. Uh, Although again, the further you go out from the radar beam, the higher up it this looks into the storm, so it's not always reflective of what's at the surface. So, but they definitely saw something, so that's good. All right, storm down south. That's in down north of downtown. Let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, it's still behaving. And the one thing that you can always look at too is if there's not even a special weather statement on it, which is they don't always do that before a warning, but a lot of times they try to, and so you don't even see that on that storm. So that's good. Doesn't mean they can't change in a moment's notice, but right now we're good. Hello, Misty. So Misty, I have a new toy, so I don't want to embarrass you, Misty, but I'm just going to put you up there real quick. There you go. There's Miss Lambert. I know Misty's going to ask me, so I'll go ahead and tell Misty. So you're good so far tonight, Misty. So we'll really do the expansion for you. Uh, let's see. Are you? I guess technically you're in the tornado watch. Uh, let's really expand this out. Yeah, Misty, I don't think that. Well, like I said, I mean, is there a chance you could see something later tonight? Sure, there is, but the chances aren't great for you. So I'll put it this way: our chances are much better than yours. All right. So hopefully that helps you, Misty. All right. Okay. So here's the bottom line, and unless something really goes crazy, I'm gonna sign off for now. So here's what we should expect the rest of the evening, with a couple caveats, because we do have a situation that's volatile to say the least and ever changing. Um, this dry if you're west of the dry line, which is basically zoom out here, which is basically anybody that's roughly like this, which by the way, it could move back to the west, so don't it's not over, but at least for the time being, you're good. You don't have to worry about anything for now. If you're east of that line, then I don't think there's any reason to get terribly concerned, but it is definitely something that I could just walk outside, and if it's really humid where you're at, then I'll tell you all you need to know that the dry line has not passed your location yet. Now, having said that, I think again, what we talked about before is that there's a pro and con with this with the sun setting in these situations with severe weather. The pro is that a lot of times the cap will re-strengthen, not always, but a lot of times it will, because the bound we call the boundary layer, which is just a layer right above the surface of the earth, what we all live in, tends to cool off. And when it cools like that, it tends to stabilize the cap. Um, now the flip of that, when you already have a storm, which is what you see up in near Greenville and eastern Collin County, is that the the sun setting, the sun setting will strengthen the low level jet. In other words, the winds closest to the surface that tend to get well. I mean, it's gusty right now. It's gusting to 20 miles an hour at my house. That and that kind of goes up a few thousand feet, and that will feed into the storm. And because of the direction it's coming from, because the storm's moving northeast, and that low level flows out of the south, that's what we call directional shear, and that's what can get tornado genesis going. Um, so now, does that mean that that storm is going to produce a tornado? No. Um, does it have a possibility more than say the storm is in central Dallas County? Yes. Um, but I've seen stranger things happen to where it's flipped. That storm dies off and this one strengthens. So that's why you just always got to be on the alert until the threats pass. Yeah, so I wanted to show Kara's message because so got a notice for a severe thunderstorm for Wiley. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Kara, because it's a good reminder about what those mean. And I've harped on this for years. We'll zoom in on this. So, weather warnings have gotten way better geographically uh, over the years, certainly in the last 20, 30 years. So, if you don't know, if you don't remember, especially Generation Xers that were kids, but used to when they did severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings or whatever, they warned the whole county no matter what. They didn't have polygons other than what the county looks like. They didn't have that technology. So, if there's a storm in over Saxe, but the whole county would be warned. So if you were in Irving, you're like, what's the big deal? Now we made a lot of progress with that. Obviously, we got these you see these polygons right now. They don't cover whole counties; they cover parts of counties, and that's great because it's like, hey, if you're in that polygon, then be on the alert. Not everybody in that polygon is going to see anything, but that's making the margin for error. Now, having said that, some of the mobile warnings, uh, they aren't quite that far along yet. So what I mean is, this warning that Kara was referring to is for south, as you can see on the radar, is for southeast Collin County, not Collin County. And Saxe is we're blessed to be in two counties, and so part of Saxe is in Collin County, part of Saxe is in Dallas County. So, but in essence, if I'm in Dallas County, so if in essence I get it too. Actually, I did not get it on my phone to be honest, but we do get it before. And so all I'm saying is that if you live in a town that in Collin County, you'll get an alert, even though you might live in McKinney, you might live in Salina. But it's for that storm in the southeast part of the county. They haven't quite caught up, though. Those mobile alerts have not quite caught up with the polygon specific warning. Now, ironically, this is what kind of drives me crazy. So, what ironically is that when you on your phone, and I hope everybody has their alerts activated, their emergency alerts on your phone. I hope you have those activated. They really only go off for two reasons on your phone. I mean, I'm not talking about if you have an app or anything like that, or if you're subscribed to a weather service like Nixle or something to where they give warning. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about your phone. And so, what the weather service does is that they have the ability, because they're part of the federal government, they have the ability to do EAS, emergency activation system, siren, whatever they call it, and they can activate that. And on your phone, if you have the emergency alerts activated, which I would encourage you to do that, especially at night, then if you're in a tornado warning, your phone, it's like with Amber Alerts that go off. It's that tone, and everybody goes crazy. It's so if you have but only within that specific geographic area. So that's what's so funny is because when you do a tornado warning, if you're in for southeastern Collin County, as an example, if you're in McKinney, you wouldn't get that alert on your phone. Now, if you're close, you might get it. And then the other way they do that is they do it, or the other reason they do that is for a flash flood warning that's considered a considerable threat, not just a normal flash flood warning. So, same thing. You won't get that unless you're in that polygon. So, that's my little soapbox as far as alerts on your app alerts, I should say. So, yeah, I'm not surprised you got that at all, Kara. But if you don't have that set on your phone, I'm familiar with iPhone. This, you go to your settings and it's there. Android, I'm not quite as sure, but I'm sure it's similar. So make sure you have emergency alerts set to go off on your phone. And if it's during the day, you can put it on vibrate. So not a big deal. But just make sure you do that. And as I preached about last time, if you don't have a weather radio, I would strongly encourage you to get one. It's just it might. I'm not trying to be talk hyperbole here, but it might save your life one day, especially at night. So they're very inexpensive. Go to Amazon, you can get them, and you, like I said before, you could program them just for your county, and you don't have to listen to everything else within the county warning area if you didn't want to. So, all right. So before I sign off, I don't see anything else in the comments, and let me look at spotter reports here. All right, so all right, so the only thing that's semi close to us is, I guess, they have a report of rotation tightening up south of Farmersville. So let's zoom in on that. So Farmersville being right here, of course, let's put the velocity on. Yeah. Try that. Yeah, I mean, a little. Of course, the Weather Service is looking at a probably a more up to date scan than I am. So, all right. So, okay. Let's go back to reactivity one time. One more time. All right, so we'll go into motion one more time to kind of get an idea of what these storms look like. And all right. Yeah, so it is yeah, things are slowing down a little bit from the dry line, but we'll see how that plays out tonight. Let's see. Make sure that get one more scan in here. Yep. All right. Okay, so here's what I'll leave you with. Hold on. Let's see what they talk about. Okay. Nothing to be concerned about. Okay. So here's what I'll leave you with. I don't see any more comments, and definitely don't want to be on here. There's nothing too terribly concerning about, although I could sit here and talk about the weather all night. The bottom line is this storm that is the most intense storm right now is this warning that's for the storm in southeastern Collin County that's north of Wiley, pretty good north of Wiley, between Wiley and Farmersville, basically. And then the other thing in town, literally, is the one in central Dallas County. And I haven't seen any hail reports out of it, although I know the spotters are checking on that. Um, excuse me. So if that one were to strengthen, especially if it strengthened really, really, you know, ramped up to severe levels, then I'll definitely hop back on. But like I said before, no offense. Hopefully, I won't have to do that. But I will if I need to, and we'll keep you up to date. That is for sure. All right. So I don't see any other comments. I know I'm on a little bit of a delay, so if I sign off before I see your comment, I'll try to do it offline. So as always, thanks so much for y'all watching. Everybody watching, I appreciate it. Um, we don't, we're not out of the woods yet, but it's looking decent so far. But that can change real quick. If it does, I'll hop back on. And then tomorrow, it won't be the exact same setup, but it is something that we'll definitely be watching tomorrow because we have another chance for severe weather tomorrow. That is springtime in Texas. Now we get through all that. The first part of Mother's Day weekend will be really, really nice. So we can just think about that between now and then. Okay, don't say anything else. Thanks for watching, everybody. And as always, I'm watching the weather, so you don't have to. Hope everyone has a great evening. I might see you, I might not. Let's hope I don't. And that'd be okay with me. So have a good evening, everybody.